There's something I wanted to kind of discuss here that I think is quite important for, again, the founders listening and the moonshot companies. Um, there is an imbalance of power when you have very visionary, highly competent leaders there. Like what I found at Stability is that everyone would be waiting for me, no matter how competent, because I was the one that could see around the corners and I was a bit good at everything. Even if I hired people that had built billion-dollar startups or were leaders in research at Google or kind of whatever, because you have that outsized thing. This is what kind of Jeff Bezos says. You have to speak last in some cases. And some people in meetings, otherwise everyone just does everything you say. And they also wait on you. Now, what I find and what I tell the team is that you're flat as a power dynamic. You're all on the same page. You're all kind of relatively equal owners. And it'll be interesting to see how it evolves from that, given that there's actually a business. And again, I think this is something that you probably had a challenge with in other founders here, whereby they put more on your plate because you are so visionary and because you're like up there in the future. And they're always waiting on you. So you're always like, well, my schedule is completely packed. My schedule now is actually quite free, which is also quite nice.
So we do have a world of visionary founder-led CEO companies, right? So you've got Musk and you've got Bezos historically, and you had Steve Jobs, and that's both powerful and dangerous. The power is the ability for that, because we don't ever have a company that is pre-existing. A new CEO comes in and has the same both chutzpah and also the power of their vision. The danger there, you're saying, is not allowing your team to step up with their own vision, or being overly indexed on your vision.
Yeah, I think that can be the issue, and that's why I wanted Stability to, again, reach the point of spread and revenue rate increase and other things before I did anything. And I felt, again, this external pressure in that if nobody, or there's very few people in the world actually thinking properly about governance and spread and others in a very small window, given the pace of this to make a difference in the dent. I believed I had a reasonable approach to that, but I couldn't while remaining CEO of this company. And again, it's a pretty unique scenario because you've never seen a sector move this fast that has such wide-reaching human implications. And regrettably, there's too few people, I think, with the right alignment and approach in this area. I've been very disappointed. Like, usually what happens is you have power maximization equations, and this is what we're seeing from the industry consolidation. How many people want to genuinely bring this technology to kids in Nigeria or to the global south, or to help those leaders build their own models, and believe also in a positive sum game? That was actually my biggest surprise from the discussion in Silicon Valley. Almost entirely, they all believe in flat or negative sum, zero sum or negative sum things where there has to be a winner. Everyone's a winner in this. And again, I was just very disappointed seeing that. It was always curious to see that as a deep tech company 2 years in, people were asking us, why aren't you profitable? And I was like, wait, it takes a bit of time and investment to get to profitability. I think OpenAI, they're not there yet, but they have 8 years. I think all the comparisons are perhaps unfair. So reviewing everything and kind of looking at it, I was like, do I really want to be a CEO? I think the answer is no. I think there is a lot imbued in that in tech, but it's a very interesting position.
Just to dive into that a second, because we've had this conversation, because there was a lot of pressure asking whether for you to step down as CEO, and I think founders typically want to see themselves or feel they need to be the CEO. And I've heard you say recently, that you view yourself more as a founder and strategist than a CEO. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think everyone's got their own skill sets, right? So I'm particularly great at taking creatives, developers, researchers, others, and achieving their full potential and designing systems. But I should not be dealing with, HR and operations and business development and other elements. There are far better people than me to do that. So now, for example, our most popular thing, Stable Diffusion, and Comfy UI, the system around it, is the most widely used image software models in the world. there are great media CEOs that can take that and amplify that to make hundreds of millions of revenue. So they should come in and lead on that.
So why now, pal? What is there anything that specifically tipped for you that has, I mean, because, it has, you have done an extraordinary job. This has been your baby. I mean, you have to feel a whole slew of emotional elements. And I've had to step down as CEO on 2 occasions over the 27 companies. I've had to sell a company for pennies on the dollar, and it takes an emotional hardship on you.
Yeah, I mean, I've had calls for me to step down as CEO since 2022, you know? But I always thought, what's best for the company and the mission? And where I look at the world right now, there's a few things. A, the company has momentum, it has spread, it's turning into a business. Like last year, I said, let's not enter into large revenue contracts because technology isn't mature yet and our processes aren't mature yet, and you have to deliver. So we did a lot of experimental things we were setting up, and again, now it's ramping on a business side. On a technology side, the technology is maturing. Diffusion transformers, such as Stable Diffusion 3 and Sora, are going to be the next big thing, and again, stability's got a great place there. But I think there's also the macro on this. So if you look at the OpenAI CEO board thing, Sam Altman said the board can fire me anytime. This is the governance of OpenAI. And then they fired him, and then he is back on, and he appoints himself back on the board. There's clearly no governance at OpenAI. I mean, I respect the people on the board greatly. I think there's some great individuals, but who should manage the technology that drives humanity and teaches every child and manages our government? Who's really leading on that can build these models and do those things?